Hello and welcome to Meeting Folks. So we are going to be doing the episode number 1 of the second season. I don't know if you have been watching us, but we have done one first season on Instagram. It was like kind of an experimental thing. So now we are trying to give it a bit of a better looking. So let's see how is it going. And we have a guest tonight that is a person that I know we have met a few times. He's a very nice guy. So please welcome to John Wheeler from Hayseed Dixie. Hey, John.
Party.
How are you going?
Uh, it's still running. Yeah,
Thank
better
you
than
for
I could be, I suppose.
thank you for
Yeah, I'm
being
all right,
here.
man. Thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you for being here with us tonight. So, as I was explaining to you before, because we were chatting before, yes, people knows that this is just a very informal chat. It's not an interview. It's just a chat with friends. Meet of folks, right? So it's first time I knew about Hayseed Dixie was like I think like in the 2006, 7, something like that, maybe. And I saw this band. This is like there's something unique. This is like amazing. These guys are doing this country folk versions of metal covers. They were amazing. And I was in England, in UK, in 2010. So like, oh, they're playing live. This was in this tiny, cute little place called Half Moon in Putney Half Moon, right?
Yep, yep,
In
yep, yep,
just like
yep.
a little bit outside London or a part of London actually. And it's like, oh, amazing! I had my chance.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, yeah. Tell me.
no, it's okay. I was just gonna say, the Half Moon is a fairly legendary place. It's been around since the mid '60s. I think it holds about 300 people, but I mean, the Rolling Stones have played there. We use it a lot
Oh,
in the summertime
do you
as a
know that?
warm up for festivals because it's not very big. Um, but yeah, it's I don't know if the Beatles ever played there, but I mean, a lot of those London, the Who played there. A lot of those London bands like that in
Oh,
the '60s when they were coming up played in that place.
do you know
And
about
from the
that?
pictures I've seen, it's still pretty similar to what it looked like then. Yes, it's a real legendary place. But we do gigs there quite a lot in the summer before a festival or something because it's a small enough room that we know we can pack it full at 2 or 3 weeks notice or something without having a whole bunch of promotion. But I like playing some of these kind of small places. London's one of those weird cities where you can go and do one really big show to sort of 1,500 people, or you can. London's really a collection of neighborhoods like New York, or you can do 6 or 8 shows around the London area if you just play all the sort of smaller places around in the periphery. I think that's more fun. But then that's where I come from. I'm
Yeah.
kind of a club musician from all the way back. Not that I mean I like playing a big show too. It's cool to see a big sea of people. It's a cool energy. But once there's more than about 800 people, it always feels to me like I'm kind of playing at them instead of to them. It's just like a big sea, and you can't really see individual faces, and that's got its own charge. But yeah, if I had to choose, I'd say I'd rather play a place where I can see most people's faces. That's just me.
I have a very funny story about that night. I don't know if you remember what happened, but I just show up to the venue like a couple of hours before the gig to get my ticket, and it was sold out. So I was
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to explain to the guy, oh, you know what? I come just from so far away. I'm sure you still have a place for me. Like trying to be like, I said, absolutely sold out. Sorry, no exceptions. I was like, so no, I have to do something. I can't miss this gig. So it's just stay in they have like a pub in the front. So I stay in the pub and she's thinking, I'm going to figure it out somehow. And Jake came in. So I approached him and say like, man, you're not going to believe this. I came for your gig here and say like, no worries. You're my guest tonight. And then when I came through the door with Jake, and the guy that was like refusing to sell me the ticket was like, like, oh, I don't like this. But
Yeah, yeah, well, they're used to it.
I will show you something that I was doing a little research through my files, and see what I have here. That's the proof that it was sold out that night,
Uh, yeah.
and it was our first meeting here.
Oh, wow.
Look how young we were.
Oh man, my beard was still not gray. Shit.
Well, this is like 11 years ago.
Yeah, I guess it would have been. Damn, we both do look a lot younger. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I do remember meeting you now. The first time I really remember meeting you was up at Bannerman's in Scotland, in Edinburgh.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, we were like with our common friend Christian. That
Yeah,
I think he was promoting some of your solo gigs, right?
I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
you have been playing on solo on Barnum's.
But I did play solo at Bannerman's, yeah. But I think the night that we got together in Edinburgh, Hayseed had played a show around the corner from there
Yeah,
somewhere.
it was
I
this.
can't remember the
I
name of
was
the
there. It
place,
was
but
La Belle Angel. So that's the name of the venue.
that was it. That
Yeah,
was it.
La Belle Angel.
Your memory is better than mine.
Well, you've been playing like literally. You play like thousands of concerts so far. Literally over thousand.
I think it's about 1,500 now, but the band's been going for almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
Or well, yeah, if you didn't include 2020, it's been going almost 20 years. We can't really include 2020 because it didn't really exist, as best I can tell.
Actually, that's one of the subjects that I
Yeah,
was going to like, especially for you guys being a band that you are like normally so active, like touring all over the place, all over Europe, and like permanently, like huge tours all over. Like how did it feel like so far? How is it? How are you coping with this? Like being like so different to what everybody's used to, but especially you because you are like, as I say, like playing so much all the time.
well, you might have to ask my wife. She's having a harder time coping with it than I am because she's not accustomed to having me in the house all the time. You know, she's accustomed to me being around for 5 or 6 weeks and then being gone for 2 months and then being back. And she was saying to me earlier, you know, I'm really looking forward to when we can all get vaccinated so I can miss you again because I can't miss you if you never go away. So I think it's been harder on her than it has on me in some ways. But well, we moved to Germany last year, so I've had quite a bit to do. That's kept me a bit busy. Just all the stuff that happens when you move between countries. I'm sure you know. You have to figure out how their health system works, and you have
Yeah.
to figure out how insurance works. You have to sign up with these people, get the electricity on, get a mobile phone. This kind of all this stuff when you're trying to do it in a language that is not really your first language. Um, is an interesting challenge. I think everybody should do it once. I think it's really good for your soul. And it also makes you realize how easy English actually is. English doesn't have all this weird grammar that a lot of languages have. German is particularly difficult in that regard. You have der, die, or das for every single word, and you have to know which the thing is, or else you can't make the rest of the sentence make any sense. I mean, they mostly know what you're trying to say. They'll forgive you, and they'll know what you mean, but you just sort of sound silly, which I don't mind sounding silly. That's part of what my band does is sound, make a joke out of things. But yeah, when you're trying to, make a doctor's appointment or something, you don't really want to sound silly. You want to get it done.
So where about
that's kept me busy. But otherwise, I'm in Heidelberg, down near the Black Forest.
All right. So it's like in the middle,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, Heidelberg. Yeah, sort of in the southern middle. Yeah, not too far from the Rhine, but there's a forest called the Odenwald that's comes up out of the Rhine Valley. So there's kind of, they're not big mountains like in Switzerland. They're kind of like it reminds me a lot of East Tennessee where I'm from, actually. So it looks a lot like the Appalachians, but with people who remind me more of people from the upper Midwest in America. Once you get past the language barrier, the vibe of the people reminds me a lot of Wisconsin or Minnesota or something,
You're
which suits me. I quite like those people. So,
you're originally from Tennessee. Am I right?
Nashville, yeah, I'm
Nashville,
originally
Tennessee. Yeah.
Yeah, Nashville.
You know,
The whole band is original. Yeah, I mean, well, Jake grew up in Florida, but Jake, the bass player, grew up in Florida, but he's been living in Nashville since he was about 17. So, I mean, the band got together in Nashville.
it was fun that
It's where we all kind of consider to be where we're from.
like how big and small is the scene, and everybody knows each other at some point, like, or somehow, and maybe sometimes the people that you less expect, you're friends with, and oh, I know this guy also. And I don't know if you remember, we were I used to work in as a stage manager and tour manager in Argentina, and I was working with this band, this kind of tribute band called Tribute to the Birds. And there was the drummer. He wasn't the original drummer, but this.
Oh, was that those guys? Was that those guys from St. Louis?
And this was this guy called Tim Polite.
What was his name? Tim Polite.
Yeah, Polite. Tim Polite.
Tim Polite. Yeah.
And we were talking about music and this and that. Yeah, in America.
They recorded the demo at my studio.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, this, that's what I mean. Like, you start talking with somebody, and this one knows each other, and this one knows this one. It's funny how it always goes like that at some point.
Yeah, I met those guys. They had to record like 4 or 5 songs of the in the studio of them doing the bird songs, and I don't know how they got hooked up with my demo studio, but that's what I was doing in Nashville when I made the first Hayseed Dixie record, was running like a little demo studio, mostly for people who were trying to write songs for country people, and that's what I made most of my living from. But that was the bulk of the business was country song demos. But there were also things like Tim Polite's band. Some guy would say, yeah, we got this act that plays weddings or acts that plays festivals or whatever. We need to record a press kit for it. So I'd mic it up and try to make it sound as much like the Birds as possible, or whatever it was, which was kind of an interesting challenge, because you're trying to get like a drum sound that you wouldn't normally try to get. You wouldn't normally try to make it sound all boingy and, mid 60s like that, and a bunch of plate reverb and everything. It's kind of, those old Birds records, they're kind of cool, but they're not what we would consider to be like good recordings, really. So we're sitting there EQing on it when we're mixing it, trying to get it to sound a little more crap, so it sounds more like the 60s. But yeah, he was a cool guy. I mean, I think maybe I didn't appreciate at the time how much that band traveled around and played a lot of gigs. I thought they were probably just a little bar band. But then he started telling me about, going to Australia and places. And I thought, okay, well, that was before I had even done Hayseed Dixie, I think. I think that would have been about 97, 98 when I did that project for them, something like that. I made the first Hayseed record, I think in 2000, and it got released in 2001. Complete fluke, complete accident. I mean, I made the record just kind of as an experiment, really.
How actually did you come up with the idea?
I thought it would be released. Oh man, well, it wasn't like I ever had like a light bulb moment or anything. Many years before, so I was 30 in the year 2000. So yeah, in the late 80s, early 90s, when I was going to university, I got in a band that played a lot of fraternity parties, which you don't really have in Europe, but there's drinking clubs really at universities. Some of it, I think, is because the drinking age is 21 in the United States, so they kind of have to throw their own private parties if they're going to have anything that resembles a pub atmosphere. It's stupid, but that's a different conversation. How you could be drafted into the military, you could vote for one fool or another, you could charge 10 grand on your master charge, you could get married, have a kid. I mean, strictly speaking, you could have done 2 tours of duty in Iraq, have a wife and a kid and a house payment and a car payment, a credit card bill, and have voted for president in the last election. But if you walk in the market, they won't sell you a beer if you're not 21. You could be 20 years old. Again, it's a bit of a side topic, but yeah, when I was planning this in all these college parties and whatnot, I can't even remember which night, but at one night I remember I started playing "You Shook Me All Night Long" like a country song. I just thought, actually, you sort of swing the rhythm and slow the chords down. It's really similar to a country song, and I kind of sang it hillbilly. It's some audience of a bunch of frat boys, and they all, Animal House style, sang along, and everybody yeehawed. And I think it was the best response we got for anything we played the whole night. People were saying, "Play some more of those country rock songs." So we worked a few up like that, and this was again the late '80s, early '90s. So I can't remember. I think we did a kind of a country version of that Priest song, "Heads Are Gonna Roll," and I don't even remember. There were several different things. We did a country version of "Love Will Move Machine," but again on electric instruments. It was like it was a rock band. We just kind of played it country style, and I remember thinking at the time. There's some mileage in this. People like this kind of thing. This is kind of fun, turning these rock songs into country songs, because it puts the lyrics right out front.
Yeah.
But I didn't think much more about it, And then many years later, in the year 2000, running this demo studio, which was the place where I met Tim Polite, the guy you said, remembering that birthday. I was doing a demo for some songwriter who I don't even remember. And a lot of these guys would hire various session musicians to come over and play stuff, particularly pedal steel. And I mean, I'd play a lot of their guitar farm or their fiddle if they wanted it, but I don't play pedal steel. That's a lifetime study. So there was this guy, Mike Daly, his name was, who his main job is he plays pedal steel for Hank Williams Jr., who does still tour quite a bit, and is like a country legend. So it's a full-time job for the guy. But he would do sessions on the side, and great pedal steel player. But he would always turn up with a dobro, and nobody ever asked him to play it on anything. So at the end of this one session, we were sitting there. Everybody else had left, and I'm drinking a beer, and he's smoking whatever he's smoking. And I said to him, "Man, that dobro in that case, you pretty good at it." And he said, "I'm okay. I mean, nobody ever asked me to do it. I always just bring it with me to the sessions in case." I said, "Play something on it." So he got it out. And he played the intro to Hell's Bells on it. He already had it worked out. And I said, "Dude, I've had this idea for a long time for a project that would involve something very much like that." And he's like, "What?" And I said, "I think it just came out." I said, "Hayseed Dixie." I didn't say Hayseed Dixie. I said, "I think we should do a record called Hayseed Dixie, where we play a whole bunch of AC/DC songs, like hillbilly songs. I think that'd be an awful lot of fun. We could pass it around." He was like, "Oh God, that'd be hilarious. Yeah, people could play at their party or their campfire or whatever." And I said, yeah. So we picked a date. I played pretty much everything on it: the guitar, the bass, the mandolin. Mike played the dobro on it. I sang it. A guy named Rusty Horn, another guy named Kurt Carrick came over. Rusty played some guitar solos on it. Kurt played a bit of banjo on a couple songs. They sang some harmonies. We pressed up a bunch of copies of it. Back in the day when you would burn CDs on your computer, I think I pressed, I don't know, 20 or 30 of them, passed them around, and didn't think anything else about it, really. About this would have been in the summer, so in sort of November. So 4 or 5 months later, without me doing anything to promote it or spread it or anything beyond the first thing, I got a phone call one morning from a guy I knew who said, "Man, turn on the radio. They're playing that AC Dixie thing of yours on the radio, and they're calling it rock grass." I didn't come up with the term rock grass. Some radio DJ did, but I thought, that's good. I like that. I'm going to use that. Yeah. So I looked on social media, didn't really exist then, but there were message boards and stuff like that. And then this radio station was getting, they did like an hour and a half. They kept coming back and spinning sections of it. And I thought, okay, I need to try to get this released. So I took it around all the record labels in Nashville and just kind of barged in to, "Hey, they're playing this all over the radio. You should release it." Every label said no. Said, "Oh, they'll play it once, they'll be done with it." But one label called Dual Tone, that was like a little indie label, agreed to put it out. Did a 50-50 split the net deal instead of a bullshit major label royalty deal, which turned out to be a good thing. They released this thing. They marketed it to American morning shows, and it sold 250,000 pieces in the first 6 weeks. I mean, that's a lot of records, man.
from the original 30 copies.
And there wasn't even really a band. It was just something. Yeah, They sold 250,000 pieces of those. So I paid my house off. Um, but it took a while to get the money. Um, but I thought, okay, I need to put a band together around this. I should go try to do some tour dates. Um, if that many people bought the record, we should go play some shows. So I kind of had Mike was interested in doing it, the guy who played dobro, but he couldn't because he had all these Hank Williams Jr. shows, and that was his bread and butter. And he couldn't stop playing with Hank to come do this hillbilly project with me. We had no idea if it was even going to, be successful more than a few months or something. So I found the brothers Reno played banjo and mandolin, kind of through asking some friends. And I was actually looking for a dobro player because that's what's on the first record. It's not very little banjo and it's mostly dobro. But I got recommended to these guys who say, "Oh, there's these two brothers, man. They're pretty much like-minded maniacs. They'll probably rock out with you." And they loved the idea, so we put the band together, and they played on the next records for the next 13 years. It kind of became more of a band as we went out and toured. But the original record oh, by the way, we had to change the name from AC Dixie to Hayseed Dixie, not because of AC/DC. AC/DC were actually really supportive of it, particularly Brian Johnson. He did a bunch of talking about it in interviews that people were doing with him at the time, and talked about how much he thought it was great and how it made him remember how cool the songs were, because he'd been doing them the same way for 20 something years, and hearing them in our version made him realize, hey, these are actually cool songs, which was really excellent. That he was complimentary of it. But yeah, it didn't. We had to change the name because Epic Records, or Sony, whichever it was that they were signed to at the time, said they were going to sue us for trademark infringement. It wasn't AC/DC. AC/DC didn't mind at all, but it was the record label. So we changed it to Hayseed Dixie so they couldn't sue us, which actually turned out to be a favor, because it meant, down the road we could do other material besides just AC/DC songs. Cool. So it kind of gave us more scope. I mean, whenever one door closes, you got another door opening. But that's how it started, and we just kind of followed our nose from there. As it turned out, after the first couple of albums, which were mainly marketed as kind of morning show ho-ho kind of stuff in America, but the people in the UK took it more seriously. It got played on the BBC, and it, they talked more about the musicianship and the irony of it and that kind of thing. And so we just, for whatever reason, were able to build a longer standing, more enduring touring base in the UK than we did in the United States. Go where the work's at. The next thing I know, I've married an English woman, got a couple of kids that have British accents, and 15 years have gotten behind me. But I'm not complaining about it. It's just it's funny the way things go. Like, you probably wonder sometimes how you wound up in Finland. But there you are.
In Nordic countries,
follow your nose.
You've been playing a lot in Nordic countries, right? Also, Scandinavia, Nordic countries.
Denmark and Norway more than the others. We did play in Finland quite a lot for a while. And then these guys, what they call it, Steven Seagulls, who are from Finland, started doing something very similar to what we do.
I was going to go to that
point. A year in Finland, so. Well, no, I mean, hey, it's a wide open world, and I've never seen music as a competition sport. Yeah. I don't. It's not a football match. I'm not. It's not a I'm not trying to beat anybody or anything like that. And actually, we don't sound that similar, other than them having a banjo. The rest of the instrumentation is pretty different. They got a drummer, they got an upright bass. The guy plays accordion a lot. They're really a much more polka sounding band in my view, and they're pretty good at it. I'm not, they did tell me that they got together after they saw our show in Jyväskylä at Lutako, I think the venue's called.
Lutako.
But I mean, I've gotten ideas from watching other people. Yeah, I think that's what they said that they saw us the first time before they put their band together. But again, I've gotten ideas from all kinds of people. Who am I to say somebody shouldn't, use elements of my ideas and go do their own thing with them? I mean, that's what we all do, right? Nobody exists in a vacuum. So I don't have anything against them. And the time I met them, I thought they were nice guys. But what it did mean, though, from a us touring point of view, is they play so many shows in Finland now that, it means that if we go over there, we really only play 3 or 4 shows because they're already
Mm.
crawling around all the smaller markets. There's only sort of,
Yeah.
But then at the same time, when they've tried to play in the UK, because we play so many shows in the UK, I think they've struggled there. So I would honestly rather that we didn't hold each other back. I would rather that we could all just, build a scene rather than take away from each other's audiences. I mean, there's another band in Germany called the Boss Hoss that's really only popular in Germany and Austria, but they're really popular in Germany.
Yeah,
and Austria.
I know them. I know
really
them.
successful.
Yeah. They're like headlining festivals.
I know those guys quite well. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But they got together in 2006 after watching one of our shows in Berlin. I mean, I know Sasha, the singer. He told me that. We met him at a festival in Spain, which is cool. I mean, and we tried because our respective fan bases in Germany and in the UK wanted to be competitive and wanted to say, oh, we think Hayseed Dixie's better because they got banjo and mandolin. They're real country. And the other guys, oh, Boss Hoss is better because they got electric guitar and drums and they rock harder. And we're like, why can't you like us both? Why has it got to be one or the other? Their harmonica player played harmonica on our Killer Grass record in 2010 on a couple songs. I played fiddle on their Do or Die album. We were trying to sort of say to our fan base, look, we're friends. We like each other. You don't have to like one of us and hate the other one. That's just stupid. So I don't know how much that worked, but I don't know why people want to be like that. Why back in the 60s, supposedly you had to like either the Rolling Stones or the Beatles. When apparently, John Lennon and Mick Jagger were pretty good friends and hung out together. And
absolutely.
Like me and you talking to each other right now. It's like I'm not trying to figure out, how I can, get one up on your band. We need to all succeed, man.
It's like competition. People think that there's like a competition, but it's like when we met, we like any band, and it's like just chat and have a nice conversation and exchange ideas and talk about each other's project and everything's fine. There's no any problem with it.
No, speaking of the Half Moon in Putney, where I guess that is the first time that we met.
Yeah.
Was that the same show that Ed Sheeran opened?
Oh, I forgot about that. Please, let me tell about that. I thought it was gonna be like just.
I think it was that show, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think it was that show.
It was your gig. It was your gig. Like I didn't see any support banner, so I was waiting for the band to start. And this guy, only one guy with acoustic guitar, show up on the stage. And I was like, oh, support that. And I was like this, supporting that. And only knew about who that guy was not long ago when you posted about that. You made a post about it.
Right, okay.
And when I saw it, like, wait, I was in that show. I remember that guy with the acoustic guitar. Oh, so it was that guy. And it was like, for what? You said 300 people or something like that.
It's been
Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, well, it was before he had a record deal. He didn't have a record deal. He didn't have anything going on. He was mainly busking on the street. And my booking agent, who's still our booking agent, apparently had seen him and was trying to work with him and was trying to get some stuff going on for him. And he did. But he was getting him to open for some of the other acts that he booked, and we were one of them. And I watched him at the sound check and thought, yeah, he's another one of those guys with an acoustic guitar and a loop pedal. He's got a nice enough voice. I didn't pay him much attention, if I'm honest. I mean, I didn't think he sucked. It just didn't impress anything on me one way. It was just another one of those guys who was opening a show for us. And it wasn't anything particularly notable about it to me. And then several years, well, not even that long, but I don't know, 4 or 5 years later, he's like, selling out Wembley Stadium, not Wembley Arena, Wembley Stadium, like 50,000 people. And he still walks out there by himself with an acoustic guitar and a loop pedal. So, anybody who could do that, they got something. If you can walk out on a stage in front of 50,000 people by yourself and you can do a 2-hour show and everybody walks out happy, whether I get it or not is not the point. You got something, or you wouldn't be able to do that. So all cheers to him. And I'll say this, he was a nice guy. I do remember chatting with him briefly backstage. He asked if he could have a couple of bottles of water out of our little backstage refrigerator. I said, yeah, take what you want, take a beer or two if you want. And he's like, is that okay? I can have a beer. I was like, yeah, man, have a couple, please. Yeah, take, sure. He was really nice. He was thank you very much. He was really polite and respectful. I remember at the end of the night too, him coming up and saying, I really appreciate you guys letting me open the show. And I'm like, man, thanks for doing it, man. Didn't think much more about it. Years later, in about, I guess it was 2014 maybe, or 15, whenever we did this TV show in the UK called the Jules Holland Hogmanay. It's like the New Year's Eve BBC TV show. It's the biggest music show.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, absolutely.
The Hogmanay,
great show.
The New Year's Eve show is the really big one. And we got to do the New Year's Eve show, and Ed Sheeran was on it. And you have to play the song in the rehearsals like 10 or 15 times while they try to get their camera angles. And by the time you get to actually play it for real, you never want to hear it again, much less play it, but that's TV. So we'd done our rehearsals. And I was packing my guitar up, and I heard this voice from behind me. Pardon me, please. I look around, and there's Ed Sheeran. And he's actually not as short as people think. He's got kind of a round face, so you expect him to be a little short guy, but he's actually about my height. He's about 185 centimeters or something. I look around, and there he is. And I'm like, oh, cool. And I got up, and he said, I don't know if you remember me, but I said, oh no, I remember you, man. You played with us the Half Moon Putney a few years ago. And he went, yeah, I did. And I said, congratulations on all your success, man. He said, oh well, thanks. And I said, I've always told the other guys in the band that one day, if we did this long enough, sooner or later, somebody would open for us that we would be begging them for a support gig.
You should ask for a spot for an open spot on Wembley.
Well, and he said, well, I said, no, man, you don't want us opening for you. You want, some dude that the girls are gonna like, I said, but really, I'm very happy that you've done so well. And he said, oh, well, good to see you, man. I've got, and he took off. But the thing is, he didn't have to come over and do that. He walked all the way across the whole big TV studio to come over and say that to me, which was really cool. He didn't need to do that. So, I mean, say what you want about Ed Sheeran, but he's a proper gentleman and a proper stand-up nice guy. And I'm always happy to see somebody who's a nice guy like that have some success, So, it's not really my style. My daughter loves it. So, cheers to you, mate.
That's cool, man.
Oh, speaking of my daughter, she said something really funny, though. She was quite impressed that Ed Sheeran opened for us when she heard that story. We were driving down the road in the car the other day, and they still play a lot of, classic rock on the radio in Germany. And this Metallica song came on. I think it was Sad But True, maybe. I can't remember. But Iona, my daughter, who's 11, she says to me, oh, this is those guys that sound like if AC/DC played sea shanties. And I said, right, you think? She said, yeah, this guy, he's real angry, son, hey, but it just sounds like if AC/DC was trying to play a sea shanty. And I thought, actually, that kind of is what Metallica sounds like. I never thought about that before.
There you go.
Yeah, sometimes, man, your children are much more insightful than you are. Some of the stuff that comes out their mouth, and you're like, yeah, maybe you should write. You should produce my next record. You know more about this shit than I do.
So, John, I thought I have seen that you've been also doing a lot of solo piano stuff lately.
Just because I can't do much else. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I have done. Yeah, there's me a little upright sitting there. Yeah, I've kind of gotten back into trying to do something productive with not being able to tour. And I don't know, I mean, I've seen some people who tried to do live streams and stuff, but the problem that we have with that, maybe we could record it in advance, maybe, but the problem is that there's all this delay over the digital line. You know what I mean? Like,
impossible.
You're not seeing me in real time, I'm not seeing you in real time. So yeah, exactly. If and just like your band, I mean, our guys, I'm living in Germany, the mandolin players in London, Jake, our bass players in Nashville, and Tim is in a different part of Nashville. So banjo player. So the banjo player and bass player could be in the same room, but the rest of us, I mean, we're separated by oceans. So yeah, the delay between it,
Yeah,
especially
it's
when you don't
impossible.
have drums or anything, or
Yeah.
maybe it's not any worse on it, but it's
Right.
impossible to do that.
Yeah.
And with all these quarantine regulations, we can't just fly people together to try to do a live stream show. We have started thinking about if it looks like the festivals are not going to happen this summer, and who has any way to know, right?
Yeah.
I just have no idea. But if it looks like they're not, we might try to crowd fund it, just getting everybody together. I've never done it before. I've never tried doing a crowdfunding thing because we've never needed to. We've always had, our own recording equipment, and we would just take a week or two between tour dates or something and record tracks. We've never needed to ask for any money, but now if we have to buy everybody plane tickets just to fly to be in the same place, I don't know. It might be worth trying just so we can get a little budget together to try to get everybody together and do something, because otherwise it's been a year, man. But since we've been all in the same room together, and I mean, I think we all remember the songs and whatnot. But well, I mean, I'll tell you what, we were in the eye of the hurricane when the corona pandemic first started taking off this time last year. We had a tour booked last year. It started, I think, the very end of February in Dublin in Ireland. We usually start our tours in Ireland and then work our way towards the east. Ireland's a good place to start because it's one side of Europe and you can do 4 or 5 shows there and then go over to England and you just continue to go east. It makes everything kind of line up. Plus, the Irish are a good, fun-loving bunch of people. They drink a lot. They're not overly critical. You're getting some new material together. Well, but that said, they will tell you if they think it sucks too. But they don't get angry about it. They just say, "Hey, most of your show was good, but that song, no, that was shit. You shouldn't do that, mate." So it's a good place to warm your show up. It really is, because they're a drinking friendly audience that'll tell you the truth. So we did the Irish shows. It was about a 42 date tour. It was supposed to go through the week before Easter, so the first part of April. It was going to be the entire month of March and most of April. Big tour, mostly UK. And we were selling everything out, man. It was really going well. We just put a new album out that was a bunch of like disco tunes and stuff. We had like a version of Staying Alive on it and a version of Take On Me. Just really silly party music, because I was trying to kind of go the other way from the previous record, which was a bit more of I wouldn't say it's political, but it was more of a social record about race and nationalism, and that's what the songs were about on the Free Your Mind record. You don't have to take it that way, but that's if you look at what all the songs are, that's what it was. It was a response to the sort of Brexit thing and a lot of the nationalism and Trump and whatnot. Not that the songs are about Trump or Brexit or not, but the subject matter was about race and nationality. So we wanted to make a record that was not about that for this. That's how we usually do it. We'll make one that's a bit of a statement and one that's just a party record, and kind of go back and forth. I don't want to beat anybody over the head with my beliefs, but that said, I do live in a world, and I gotta acknowledge that I live in a world. I can't just sing about where the dick's at. The dick has to be somewhere in a context, it's in a world. But anyway, we got to play in these shows, and when we started in Ireland, there was just this rumbling of, there's been some kind of a funny virus in Austria. I think it might have come from China, and a few people seem to be getting really sick. Is this going to be another one of those bird flu things, whatever? The Irish shows all went fine. We crossed the channel after Belfast, got back to England, had a night off in Warrington. We went down to a pub and shot a bunch of video footage that I still need to edit for a video for one of the songs. And that was when we started hearing people saying, man, they're saying this is going to be a big deal, this virus. We got through the first week of shows, and then everything was called off. The way that we talked about it that night, we said, okay, typically it's about a 5% no-show percentage at every show you do. Meaning like about 5% of the tickets that get sold, the people just don't show up. Either, somebody gets sick, or they can't get a babysitter, or they forget about it, or I don't know, various reasons, but it's always right around 5% at every show. I don't know why, but that's the benchmark. So we said, if the no-show rate gets above 20% for the shows, then we have to cancel the tour, because that means that more than 1/5 of our audience, either rightly or wrongly, but more than 1/5 of our audience doesn't feel safe coming to the shows. Yeah. And if that's the case, then we're taking their money, and it's not fair. It's not right. it's not, and we're not doctors. It's not up to us to decide whether the shows ought to happen or not. But as soon as it's more than 20% of the audience no longer feels like they can safely come, we got to postpone. And we all agreed on that. And we also agreed we'd stop going out and doing the meet and greets after the shows, mainly because we thought, well, if anybody's going to spread this thing, it's most likely to be us, because we're the ones who are traveling from town to town, and we're shaking all these hands and taking pictures. And so we're the ones who are coming into contact with everything. I wasn't so much worried about getting sick, because, I mean, we're all, I think, reasonably healthy people. But I was worried, what if we spread this all over the country? I mean, we're exactly the kind of people who could do that, because we're playing different shows every night. So we said we're going to have to stop meeting people. The Thursday night in Leeds, we had an 8% no-show. The Friday night in Newcastle had a 15% no-show. And then the Saturday night in Manchester at the Academy 2 holds 1,000 people, and we had it sold out, 28% no-show. Yeah. That's how fast it ramped up. And that's when we said,
was the last one.
It's over. That's how fast it went, man. And we were, that Sunday morning, we agreed we would all go out, have a few beers, sleep on it, and make a decision on Sunday morning. But we all knew what we were going to decide. So we went to this pub down the road from the Manchester Academy.
What date was that?
They were giving the beer away like £1 a pint. That was, I had to look on my website. I can't remember exactly. I had to look on my past tour dates page. Did I just close that?
But I tell you, actually, we were
1 second. I'll
the Skiltron, we were in the UK more or less at the same time, because we were playing the last 2 weeks of February 2020. We were there.
Okay.
When people already start talking about that.
Look, it would be the last show we played.
I tell you something. The first week of March, we played in Japan.
Right.
So that was like just there. We came back home. This was like 3-4 days lockdown.
This was Saturday, March the 14th. So we got farther into it than most people did. And we went to the pub next door to the venue because we knew it was over. And they were giving the beer away for £1 a pint because they were just trying to get rid of it. They knew they were going to have to throw it all away if they had to close. And the DJ was playing nothing but Beatles songs, and everybody was singing along like it was the last day on earth. Now, this is Manchester. Beatles are from Liverpool. I mean, this is some northern humor right here. They weren't playing Oasis. They were playing Beatles songs all night, and everybody was, and the twee stuff. Everybody was singing, yeah. The early Beatles, not the later, like weirder stuff, but the real skiffly pop stuff. And everybody was just spilling beer and drinking shots and getting completely plastered. And yeah, me and Dave, the sound guy, were saying, this is like the party at the end of the world, man. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or some shit. This is really, really, really weird. And the next morning we got up and I said to everybody, man, get plane tickets. That's why you can still get them. Jake and Tim got on the last plane out of Manchester back to the U.S. before they closed all the flights. I mean, it happened fast, man. But here's where it gets even better from my personal point of view. So I've had UK citizenship for a while as well as US stuff, but I never bothered to get a passport. Because in order to get a new UK passport, you have to send off all of your other ones, including my US one. You don't have any passport on you at all. You got to send everything off to their passport office. If you're trying to get a renewal, if you've already had one, you can do that in one day. You can go to Liverpool or I think Peterborough and give them some extra money and they'll just do it for you right there in an hour or something. But a first-time passport, that takes 3 or 4 weeks. You see where this is going. So when we first started the tour, we'd gotten together for a few days in Warrington, where my sound man lives. We get together there a lot and do rehearsals before tours because we know the town. It's cheap. Sound man's from there, so if anything breaks, he knows where the shops are to buy. Anyway, we gotten together, and I'd gone to the post office there and thought, well, we got a 4-week tour, mostly in the UK. I won't need my passport for a while. Here's a good opportunity to get a British one. So I sent everything off. My US passport's in the envelope with this. I had to send it in too. So once all the shows got canceled, the family had already moved to Germany. And there I am in the UK with a driving license. I can't leave. And I don't have a house there anymore. It's rented to somebody else. And we didn't know how long this was going to go on. So my wife's parents said to me, well, just come stay with us. which is kind of them, but they're like 79, and I've just been on the road in the middle of a pandemic. For all I know, I have this virus. Something I can't just turn up at their
Yeah.
house, man. What if I give them something that kills them? I can't do that. So I had to find somewhere to hang out for a few weeks, and we had this mutual friend who works for a company that manages Muse among other people. But my daughter went to school with his daughter. He's got this kind of guest house down in Cornwall and Penzance. Um, and I called him up and I said, "Man, is your cottage in Penzance booked right now?" And he said, "Funny you should ask. All of our bookings have just been canceled." I said, "Man," I told him what was going on with me. I said, "I need someplace to hang out." So I said, Can I rent it from you?" And he said, "Just pay the cleaning bill. I'm going to claim the loss of the bookings on insurance. So if I rent it to somebody else, I can't claim insurance. So just go hang out as long as you need to. Pay the cleaning bill. I don't think there's any hurry." And Penzance is quite a cool town with all this pirate stuff and all. Of course, by the time I got there, everything was shut. It was like ghost town. Yeah. It would be a place I'd like to go back to and explore once everything is open again. I walked past a lot of pubs that looked cool, but they were all closed up. I try to go out every day and walk a little bit just to get some exercise. But it was really weird because at that time, none of us had any idea how this was going to turn out. We didn't know it might be the next bubonic plague. Was it going to kill a third of the population? We didn't know. As it turns out, no, it's actually not that lethal. There's a few people who get really sick, but most people, it doesn't bother them that much. But we didn't know that at the time. Everybody was pretty freaked out about it. That was weird. I sat down there and played acoustic guitar and wrote a whole bunch of songs that are probably going to wind up on some new Hayseed records when we finally get together again. But it took 9 weeks to get my passport back where I could finally get back with my family. Yeah. The thing is, though, what I worry about is I've had everybody telling me that, there's going to be this like new roaring 20s once they open everything back up, and it's going to be, dancing in the streets and all this. I think there'll be an element of that for a month or two, but also what's going to happen is every single band is going to hit the road and tour all at the same time. The market's going to be completely saturated.
I was going to tell you something similar. I don't know if maybe you are going to agree with me. First, I hope they are not all of them touring at the same time, because that's going to be a problem. But I mean, once things go back to normality, I think that people is going to appreciate more what before they give by guarantee, maybe. And live music is gonna be one of the main things, maybe. I have that thing in my mind now, that people is going to be like more respectful. No, I don't know if respectful is the word, but like more willing to go out and see the bands and enjoy, because that's what I mean. Like, there maybe it was something that they give like, but yeah, we can go out anytime, so there's no need to, if we don't go out this Saturday, it can be any other day. But now maybe it's like, now we have the chance, and we saw how it is, like not being able to see any kind of like live thing or anything, or tour or bands or festivals, or even going to places like museums, for example. Any kind of activity that is not allowed now.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely think that all the festivals will sell out. I think that's correct. But what I'm afraid of is, I think you're right. I think people will appreciate the opportunity a lot more than they used to, and not take it so much for granted. I think that's true. But we're also coming out of a pandemic, and everybody's not made out of money. There's a lot of people out there who haven't been able to work very much for a year. So a lot of people are
especially musicians,
gotten through their savings, and there's only so many tickets to a gig one guy can afford in a given month. Even though my shows are 15-20 euros or something, they're not as expensive as going to an arena show. But still, there's only so many tickets a guy can buy in a month. And I'm afraid that if every single band hits the road, I'm not saying bands shouldn't tour, but I want to tour. I want to do it too. But I'm saying I'm afraid that the market's going to be saturated. There's shows on every night of the week. Guys like me and you are not going to be able to go out every single night of the week. They're still going to have to be selective about which shows they go to. Now, they will all, I think, make efforts to go to the festivals, because you get a whole bunch of bands on one bill there. So I think the festivals will do really well once they're able to happen.
Well, it's actually festivals that they've been sold out for 2 years now, because people still keep the ticket. They've been sold out for two. Like they are rescheduling 1 year, then for next year, and they people still keep the ticket. Most of them, so they've been sold out
Yeah,
for 2 years.
yeah, yeah. And I hope that they're all still there. You know, that they don't go bankrupt in the meantime. I hope.
Yeah,
Um, Hopefully they don't. I mean, the festivals will probably do better. What I'm more worried about is
small
the
venues.
regular sort of rock and roll venues.
Yeah,
The places like Bannerman's and stuff. I'm worried
yeah.
if they own the building, they'll probably be okay. But if they're being expected to pay
Well, there's
rent on the
actually
building, I
I
don't
don't know
know.
if you have
I
seen,
think
but
the
there's
UK
like a
government's
lot of them made in crowdfunding stuff and everything to keep up because it was this guy from I saw a post from I don't know if you ever played this venue in Newcastle, Trillions. So the guy from there that we have
I don't think so.
no
I don't think
okay
so.
we have played there a few times and the guy posts like maybe I don't know recently that like kind of in a sarcasm way that is oh it's very good that the UK government have give I think they give like something like 500,000 something like that to the cave in Liverpool just because they have like a the historic connection, something like that. It's like, oh, that's very good, but it would have been even better to split that money with some more venues.
Yeah, and this is the thing. This is what they'll do. They'll give the money to the arts centers. They'll give the money to the historical places that are on their radar. And yeah, a lot of the greasy rock boxes will just be forgotten about unless they have somebody who manages them that knows how to go and work the system. Um, and I got nothing against art centers. We play in a lot of art centers, but there's not one in every single town. You know, some of our best shows are in the greasy old school rock boxes like the Robin Two in Bilston over there near Birmingham.
Hmm.
That's an old been there since the '60s. You know, Sabbath played there. You know, when that Sabbath played there when they drew 100 people. You
By
know,
the way, thank you
at the
for
very
the.
beginning.
I never thank you back for the tip
Before
of
Ozzy had any tattoos, Sabbath played.
this venue that I don't remember the name now. That venue that was a church, like a little bit west of London. What is the name? That I asked you.
Oh,
Remember?
Colchester Arts Center.
Colchester, yeah, that's the one. Remember that I asked you because it's like, okay, this guy want to promote the show, but I'm not sure because I don't know. And you say, like, yeah, go there. It's an awesome place. And actually, I never had the opportunity to thank you back. So now is the time. It was a really nice venue and it was a
All right.
really nice show. Yeah.
Yeah, did they still have the stained glass back behind
Yeah.
the stage?
Like that.
Because
Yeah.
where it was an old church. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is cool.
Behind the stage, actually, you like people cannot see it, but it's if you go
Yep.
like literally backstage, it is there.
Yeah, they've hung a curtain up. The very first time we played that venue in about 2004, they did not have a curtain, and you could still see the stained glass from the front. And apparently, some of the people in the community complained. Some of the old ladies complained about it and said they thought it was sacrilegious for rock
Yeah,
bands to be in there playing that devil's music in front of stained glass of Jesus or something. Me personally, I think Jesus would have been partying with us. I mean, Jesus was a pretty rock and roll guy. We're talking about a guy who turned water into wine here. You know, Jesus was saying, "Have a drink on me." You know, so I don't really see the problem. But you know how some of these old people are.
But there's like so many, especially in
Yeah.
the UK. There's like so many venues or restaurants that they used to be churches or uh, places like that they are like completely like turned into another thing.
To me, that's a very good use for a church building. I mean,
Yeah,
it's still a
absolutely.
focus of the community. It's still a place where something's being celebrated. That works for me. And some of them have pretty good acoustics.
Yeah,
Some of them, you know.
true,
So,
true.
but I think England in particular, just they have a lot of churches. I'm sorry, what was that?
No, I was listening to you.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I said, yeah, England. There used to be a church in every town, man. There's a lot of abandoned churches. We did a video for the song "Eternal Flame" that we shot outside of an abandoned church in North Norfolk in England. that apparently it's known to have been a plague church where there was some kind of, I don't know if it was the plague because that would have been 400 years ago, but there was some kind of an illness that killed the whole village, and the whole village was torn down and buried, but they left the church building. But it's just been standing empty for over 100 years. And there's a bunch of stuff like that around England. There's a website, I think it's called Abandoned Churches, but they've got like a page on 280 different, abandoned churches around. Dave, our sound man, got into looking for them at one time, and some of them are just over in some farmer's field or something. And he got to wanting to go and take pictures in front of all of them. He started out with stone circles. We got him a book of all the different stone circles in Western Europe, and every tour became all about finding that stone circle that was, off in somebody's woods, or sometimes it would just be one rock sticking up. It had a little plaque on it or whatever. Dave would go check it off the list. This is the kind of shit we used to do on tours, but it keeps it interesting. So you're not just driving up and down the same, motorways over and over and over.
There was one venue that I know you've been playing. We are going to another country now. I was in Norway. It's called what it was called, the Elm Street Cafe in Oslo.
Yeah.
I know you have played like.
I
tell you why.
Cafe
I tell you why.
Yeah,
that's a very famous place. It was because of, I don't know if you are like very aware of what was that black metal Norwegian stuff, like killing each other. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Yeah.
More or less. Okay, well, that was like a very iconic place because that was where all these people were hanging out and everything. I wanted to visit the place just to, just because. And I don't remember what year it was, but I was intending to go there, and it's like, oh, this place, oh yeah, they closed down last week.
Guys would have hung out because it really didn't have that vibe at all. It was more of a classic rock kind of place. I mean, the posters that were on the wall were like David Bowie from the Ziggy Stardust era and Deep Purple and AC/DC and stuff like that. That's what was on the wall. And it wasn't like a walls painted black grungy place. It actually looked kind of like it looked like a bar and grill you would go to in like Florida or something. It was kind of long and skinny, had a long bar along it. They served hamburgers and French fries and 4 or 5 different kinds of beer and a bunch of whiskey. I mean, it was, and most of the people
Nothing
that hung
special,
out in
actually.
there were the guys that, well, it wasn't, the venue itself wasn't anything special, but it was right downtown near the main train station. So it just attracted a lot of it was kind of the scene, the center of the kind of rock and roll community in Oslo, as best as I could tell, from the 80s onward. So it really had more of a glam rock vibe to it than a metal vibe, is how I would have put it. I mean, guys were sitting around, Backstreet Girls and bands like that would hang out in there. And we used to play at it. We would play at it when we'd have a night off or something in Oslo, because it was really too small for us, but they could just announce the show like on the day and we would sell it out. And we figured, well, we were going to be in there anyway. And beer is so expensive in Norway. It's like 10 euros a bottle for a beer.
I know.
So we decided that if we were going to be going to a bar, it made more sense if we would play a gig, because at least then they would give us our beer for free. Otherwise, we were going to spend 300 or 400 euros between all of us just trying to drink. So it made more sense I'm serious. It made more sense. You don't want to have a day off in Norway. Day off in Finland is bad enough, but you don't want a day off in Norway.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It just doesn't work, man. Especially not when you're trying to drink like we're trying to drink. I mean, we don't just sing about drinking. I know you know. I mean, it's going to take 6 or 8 beers in an evening to keep me interested. And in Norway, that's going to be 80 bloody euros. I mean, so yeah, let's play a gig, get our beer for free.
That's it. Why not?
And then they pay us a bit of money too. But,
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the people that I remember. And other bands I saw in Elm Street were bands like 9 Pound Hammer and, Nashville Pussy and stuff like that. I mean, it's mostly kind of grungy rock
I see them live. Nashville Pussy, they're amazing live band. They're amazing live act.
Yeah. Absolutely. Our sound man's favorite band.
Yeah, actually, talking about that and drink, the singer, like like literally passed out live singing a song like that in the stage.
Yeah, yeah, just plop. Yeah, yeah. The whiskey hit him. You know, yeah, shit happens. Oh no, those guys are the genuine article, man. They're not making any of that shit up. They are those people. Yeah. It's kind of amazing that they're still alive, really. They're older than I am, so they got to be in their mid to late 50s, and they're still, Dave, our sound man, went out and mixed them on a tour a couple of years ago. And I said, are they still drinking as much as it looks like? And Dave was said, well, there's 2 or 3 bottles of Jack every day that were disappearing between them all.
Bottles.
I'm like, that's 2 or 3 bottles between like 5 or 6 people. That's a lot of liquor, man, to do it every day. I mean, I'm more of a beer guy, really. I'll drink a bit of whiskey, but I don't drink much liquor on tour because we have to do it every night. And I still want to do a professional show. I don't bounce back from liquor the way I used to when I was younger. It takes me too long to recover from it. But yeah, if I drink beer and get something decent to eat, I'm usually all right. But yeah, Elm Street. We wrote a song about the place. It's on an album we did. There's a bunch of the idea for the album was come up with an Elm Street Rock Cafe. It's an album we called Sergeant Monk's Dricker Club Band. It's just a bunch of Norwegian band songs. About half of them are in English and the other half are in Norwegian. I even tried to write a couple of songs in Norwegian. I don't think they're any good, but I had some help from a Norwegian guy to help me try to pronounce it. Because it's an interesting language to pronounce. I'm sure I screwed it all up, but it's supposed to be fun. But yeah, the idea for that record happened in the Elm Street Rock Cafe. A bunch of guys that were from the Turbo Union, the Turbo Negro guys, were playing Norwegian songs for us. And I said, play me some Norwegian drinking songs. And they started just playing all these different songs. And I was writing down titles. But I wrote a song called Elm Street Rock Cafe. It's on that record. If anybody's interested, they can go listen to it on Spotify or something. It's in English, but it was a song that I wrote at the Elm Street Rock Cafe, which was the place we ended up at the end of this Norwegian tour. And I was riding my motorbike on this tour. And I didn't expect it to snow at the end of April, but it did. So I wound up having to ride my motorbike through the snow a lot, made me take the coast road. So the chorus of it is, and it's go, go, go across the mountains in the snow, and it's 500 miles till we're back in Oslo. It's like it's a drinking song. But yeah, Elm Street Rock Cafe, that's the song. Apparently it's the last song they played in the place at midnight before they shut the doors on the last night it was open. I wanted to be there, but the band was touring somebody else. But they said, yeah, they played a Backstreet Girls song and they played Elm Street Rock Cafe, and that was it. And we never play that song anywhere outside of Norway because almost nobody else knows it. The album that it's on is just like a Norwegian album. The whole album is just kind of our love letter to that country. We used to play in Norway a lot back in the 2000s. It's a very pretty country. And the money was good, as far as what you get paid for doing a gig. Yeah. Friendly people that spoke good English, so you didn't have a communication problem on the stage or anything. It's part of why I started trying to learn some of their songs. I thought, well, if y'all are going to know my language so damn well, I ought to try to sing some shit at you in your own language too, just to kind of turn it around, just kind of more to show them respect than anything else. I just thought it was kind of an interesting language. But there was no need to learn it because everybody there can speak perfectly good English. Same as in Finland. I mean, there's really, have you learned much Finnish?
I'm on it. I try. It's not easy. But
it's not easy at all.
What happened here is that most of the people speak English, unlike Germany.
Exactly.
But when you try and make the effort, even you make talk no sense or make mistake, they really appreciate it. They see the effort. Right.
So you go and you say Haluaisen kaksi oluta kiitos.
Kaksi oluta kiitos.
Yeah, uksi olut kaksi oluta.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's very strange ways to plural, and when it depends if it's one, if it's two, if it's
yeah, and then the ending of the word changes.
Exactly.
And you can say Haluan or Haluaisen. Haluans I want, Haluaisens I would like to have, right?
Yeah, it's like everything.
I didn't learn too much Finnish.
You put everything on the same word. That's the thing.
Yeah. I tried to learn just enough that I could go into a bar and order between one and 10 beers in Suomi, Finnish. Even though there's no reason to. Like you said, everybody working at a bar in
Yeah,
Finland can
well, of
speak
course,
English,
yeah.
but
Especially in bars.
I've always tried to do that in every country that we play more than sort of two or three shows. I never bothered to learn it in Czech because we only played like 5 shows in the Czech Republic
Well,
ever.
that would be Pivo.
But in every country that, yeah, yeah, people, yeah. In every country though that we've played more than a few shows, I've tried to learn how to count to 10, and how to order something, from a counter, and how to say thank you and please and excuse me.
Yep.
I just
That
figure
works.
if I can learn those things, that's at least a start.
Yep.
Just to try to show them some respect that I'm not
Absolutely.
just some arrogant American guy expecting everybody to speak American to me.
Yeah.
There are so many European languages. I don't have enough hours in my life to learn all of them, and I think everybody understands that. But you can at least try to know how to say a few
Yeah.
things and show the respect that I
Absolutely.
appreciate that you have a language too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But John,
But Finnish, I think, is a particularly difficult one.
absolutely. But I think we have been
Yeah.
having a very nice conversation here. I really appreciate that you are here. I hope people have enjoyed it also. I did, certainly did. It's really nice to chat
Yeah,
with you.
so did I. I hope so.
And
No, I hope so. I hope somebody's enjoyed watching it as well. And if they have, they can come to our website and buy some T-shirts. That's what we need right now.
that's it.
Buy
Yep.
our merch.
That's what everybody
We
needs right
can't.
now.
Yep, because we can't come sell it to you at a show, even though we'd like to. But yeah, nobody
we
has
are
to
we
buy
are
any,
very
so
good
I
at posting also.
appreciate.
But John, have a good night. Thank you again, and I hope we can meet in person soon again.
I hope so too, man. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you soon.
Good night, mate. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Yeah. Okay.